Julie Ann Rodelas was a 20-year-old freelance model. She was much more than just a pretty face. She was also a dedicated student at Ariano University, where she was studying hotel management. Despite facing financial struggles that led her to drop out of school 3 times, Julie's modeling career helped her regain her footing. As the youngest in her family, she had big dreams of moving abroad for a better life, a goal her mother Luz Rodelas shared later. Her loved ones often referred to her as Ja. In addition to her freelance work, Julie was a part-time talent for ABS-CBN, one of the top TV networks in the Philippines. She graced magazine covers and was steadily making a name for herself in the entertainment industry. On the evening of November 5, 2012, Julie's mother remembered saying goodbye as Julie was heading out to meet her high school friend Althea. Althea had been a mentor to Julie, helping her get her start in the industry, and they were practically inseparable. The two were close friends and often shared clothes for their modeling jobs. By this time, Julie had begun booking more and more gigs, even surpassing Althea in some ways. They were going to meet a producer regarding a potential opportunity, and that night they watched a movie together at the SM Mall of Asia and went to the World Trade Center to meet another friend. Around 12:40 a.m., Althea rushed into the Pasay City police station, crying and in a state of shock. She reported that Julie had been abducted just moments earlier. As they were waiting for a taxi near the World Trade Center, a car suddenly pulled up, and 2 men grabbed Julie, forcing her into the vehicle before speeding away. Althea was too terrified to remember much about the car or the men. However, Althea did not tell Julie's family about her abduction and only reported it to the police. Just hours later, at 5:30 a.m. on November 6th, a lifeless body was found on 18th Avenue, Quezon City. People passing by were shocked to see the body of a young woman, likely in her 20s. She had suffered severe injuries, including multiple gunshot wounds to her face and chest, showing clear signs of brutality. The body had been left on the roadside, and she was holding onto a McDonald's paper bag. She had no personal items with her, except for the McDonald's paper bag she tightly gripped. Inside the bag was an unopened double cheeseburger with fries and a receipt. The receipt, stamped with a time of 2:33 a.m., showed that the purchase had been made just hours before her body was found. This simple but important clue would later be key in solving her case. Luz Rodelas, Julie's mother, was filled with worry as her daughter hadn't come home the night before. Julie's family was anxiously waiting for any news about her, but their worst fears were realized when they received the devastating call from the police to identify a woman's body, and it was confirmed that it was, in fact, Julie. The autopsy revealed that the victim had endured not only gunshot wounds, but also was essayed multiple times, with severe injuries indicating significant suffering over an extended period before her death. The police contacted Althea for further questioning, but this time, she didn't show up. Her brother told the press that Althea was afraid for her own life, worried she might be next. The police now had more questions than answers. They suspected that the 2 women might have gotten involved in something dangerous, like a bad deal, or that the producer they were supposed to meet wasn't who he claimed to be. With Althea too scared to provide much information, the authorities had to rely on their skills to piece together what had happened. Witnesses reported hearing gunshots around 5 a.m. and saw a dark-colored Mitsubishi Montero speeding away from the area where Julie's body was discovered. Although the color was difficult to confirm due to the dim light, a few witnesses managed to provide a license plate number. The police revisited Althea's report, verifying its accuracy. If her story was true, how could Julie have bought McDonald's just hours after being abducted? This inconsistency raised serious doubts about the credibility of Althea's version of events. The police visited the same McDonald's where the receipt was from and checked the CCTV footage, which revealed a tall, tattooed man making the purchase, later identified as Fernando Camboa Jr., Althea's boyfriend, who went by the nickname JR, a 32-year-old businessman and a tattoo shop owner. He was known for driving Althea around in a black Montero Sport. The police visited Althea's neighborhood. A witness confirmed seeing a dark Montero SUV frequently drop Althea off, and the license plate number matched the one reported by an earlier witness in Quezon City. Tracing the vehicle, they linked it to JR's mother. The police continued to gather evidence, eventually watching Althea's home for several days for any leads. On the third day, they followed a car from her house to Pampanga, where they found Althea and JR hiding at his family's home, with the SUV parked in the driveway. Both were taken into custody for questioning about their involvement in Julie's death. The police presented the evidence they collected, the McDonald's receipt found at the crime scene, and the CCTV footage showing JR buying the cheeseburgers. At first, Althea stuck to her original story about Julie's abduction. But under further pressure, she broke down and confessed to a disturbing plan. She admitted the abduction of Julie was premeditated, but insisted that the murder was never intended. Althea explained that their friendship had deteriorated over time. She resented Julie for spreading rumors about her, especially one about having 2 children, something Althea had tried to keep secret. She claimed this rumor had hurt her reputation and damaged her career prospects in the modeling world. To Althea, it was a betrayal she could not forgive. When Althea told JR about the rumors, he agreed to help her. Together, they hatched a plan to abduct Julie and scare her into silence. They had no intention of causing harm and only wanted to teach her a lesson. Althea explained that she had only gone along with the plan because JR assured her that he had never failed at such tasks before. On the night of November 5th, Althea texted JR about Julie's whereabouts, and soon the black Mitsubishi Montero arrived. Althea watched as 2 men grabbed Julie and forced her into the car. The plan had begun, but Althea later regretted her actions. She recalled wanting to stop the men but remained frozen in place, crying as Julie was taken away. Althea filed the abduction report at 12:40 a.m. on November 6th. During questioning, Althea admitted she had contacted JR, asking him to pick her up from the police station after she filed the report. He arrived shortly and they left together. Althea insisted she had no idea that Julie had been killed, believing that only the kidnapping had taken place. After leaving the police station around 2 a.m., Althea and JR drove home, gathered some clothes, and checked into a motel by 4 a.m. Later, Althea met with friends who knew both her and Julie. She gave them Julie's bag and sandals, which were left behind during the abduction, and asked them to return these items to Julie's family. The couple then went into hiding at JR's family home. Althea claimed she wanted to go home but was prevented from responding to calls or messages by JR. She said she only found out about Julie's death later on when her sister texted her. Althea claimed to have confronted JR, but he denied knowing about the murder, insisting that he had arranged for others to handle it. For days, Althea maintained the image of an innocent friend, even sharing more photos of herself with Julie on Facebook, as if to show the world how close they were and that she would never harm her friend. Throughout her statement, Althea tried to place the blame on JR, claiming she couldn't remember key details after the abduction and did not know about Julie's death for several days. However, her decision to hide cast doubt on her story, as it didn't align with the facts. Their concerns deepened after watching a video taken by a reporter shortly after Julie's abduction. In the footage, Althea seemed strangely calm and collected, showing little emotional distress. She appeared overly familiar with the investigation, deliberately withholding important details and giving an inaccurate description of the vehicle involved. This behavior raised questions about the sincerity of her public grieving. As she was seen crying in public, many on social media began to doubt her tears, suggesting they were nothing more than a performance for sympathy. JR, when questioned, denied any involvement in Julie's death. He instead pointed to a man named Jamar Waradi, saying that Waradi had taken Julie to a safe house after the abduction. Acting on this lead, the police raided a safe house on Cotabato Street. The raid turned violent, with gunfire exchanged between the police and the suspects. One of the suspects, Bob Usman, was killed during the gunfire, while 2 others, Jamar Waradi and Jelen Pasawilan, were arrested. Waradi, once in custody, provided an important insight into the crime. He explained that JR had come to his house and the plan was set in motion the day before Julie's kidnapping. JR confided in Jamar Waradi and Efren Talib about the problems with his girlfriend. He sought their help in carrying out the scheme. Waradi, driven not by financial gain but by a sense of loyalty, agreed to assist JR. He felt a deep gratitude toward him, as JR had often treated him to lavish meals and expensive drinks. However, he was adamant that while he took part in the abduction, he had no role in Julie's death. The group later drove around in JR's black Mitsubishi Montero and stopped for dinner at the Ocean Bay restaurant. CCTV footage confirmed they had been at the restaurant around 9 p.m. and stayed for about an hour. Waradi recalled that after JR received a text from Althea, they left to go to the location. At around 12:30 a.m., the two men approached the girls with their faces covered. Talib stepped out of the vehicle and forcefully pulled Julie into the SUV and headed to a safe house. During the drive, Julie was kept blindfolded to ensure she couldn't recognize her kidnappers, and she stayed quiet throughout the ordeal. The men had made a pact to use fake names, concealing their true identities. Initially, they intended to scare her, but the situation escalated when Waradi by mistake referred to JR as Jay, which revealed his identity to Julie. Hearing the nickname, Julie immediately recognized him and pleaded for her life. JR, enraged by Waradi's slip-up, lashed out at him for exposing their connection. At that moment, the plan to simply frighten her was abandoned, and the situation turned far worse. After arriving at the warehouse, Julie was taken into a room by Talib, and Waradi was told to wait outside. During this time, Althea contacted JR to let him know she was at the Pasay City police station, which led him to leave the warehouse. At the warehouse, Waradi heard Julie's cries from inside the room pleading for her life as she was being essayed by Talib. Eventually, he left the warehouse to rest at his nearby home, but was later alerted that someone else had arrived at the safe house. The new person who arrived at the safe house was Aldos. Apparently, Talib had sent a message to Aldos, telling him that a beautiful girl was at the safe house. When Waradi arrived, he found Julie in a room with Aldos, who was holding a .45 caliber pistol aimed at her. Waradi was angered by Talib's actions, and the fact that Aldos also intended to do the same upset him. He confronted them, reminding them that JR had trusted them with Julie, and that their plan never involved harming her. Aldos dismissed Waradi's concerns, questioning why he was making an issue out of it. When Waradi tried to assert his authority, Aldos coldly replied that it didn't matter, as they had already planned to dispose of her. Despite Waradi's objections, Aldos continued and Julie was essayed once again that night. When JR returned to the safe house, he brought a McDonald's bag containing a cheeseburger meal, purchased after picking up Althea from the police station. He handed the bag to Waradi, who saw it as an opportunity to check on Julie. Pretending the food was for her, Waradi entered the room and told Aldos that JR had returned. Aldos, however, showed little interest and coldly stated that he was done with Julie. He handed the McDonald's bag to Julie, instructing her to eat, claiming she would be sent home afterward. Still in shock and desperate to go home, Julie refused the food, pleading to be let go. She thought the worst was behind her, unaware that JR had already ordered Talib and Aldos to kill her. Afterward, Julie was placed back into the SUV and Waradi did not accompany the others, and they drove off. When they returned, Aldos revealed to him that he had shot Julie once in the head while they were in the car and Talib had fired further shots. Later, they left her body behind on the roadside and ran away. Julie had been killed during the drive. The plan, which originally aimed to intimidate her, had spiraled into a fatal act after she recognized one of the men involved. The trial for Julie's murder began on February 12, 2013. Waradi's testimony provided key insights into the events surrounding her death, and he became an important witness in the investigation. Waradi and Pasawilan pleaded not guilty, while Althea and JR chose not to enter a plea. The police continued their search for Talib and Aldos, who had gone into hiding. Althea, JR, Jamar Waradi, and Jelan Pasawilan were all charged with kidnapping and murder, while Talib and Aldos faced additional charges of essay. Althea and JR's legal team attempted to have the charges dismissed, but the court ruled that the arrests were lawful based on the strong evidence. While Pasawilan was cleared of direct involvement in the crime, he was charged with possessing unlawful firearms. Sadly, he was shot and killed in his home in June 2013, and his wife refused to allow the police to investigate his death. The motive behind the killing remains unclear, though some speculate it could have been an effort to silence another potential witness to the crime. Waradi cooperated as a state witness and provided key details that helped identify the two fugitives. Despite his role in the case, Julie's mother forgave him, acknowledging his assistance in solving the crime. Julie's family remains hopeful that justice will be served despite the long delay. They are confident that the strong evidence against Althea and JR will withstand any further attempts to postpone the case and expressed hope that the remaining fugitives, Efren Talib and Aldos, would eventually be brought to justice. Julie's mother, Luz Rodelas, firmly denied the allegations that Julie spread rumors. She argued that Julie had no reason to do so, especially since Althea had helped her get into modeling and was someone she looked up to. Luz expressed her disbelief and anger, insisting that even if Julie had shared something hurtful, it didn't justify taking her life. For now, Althea and JR remain in Quezon City Jail as they await the conclusion of the trial. Julie's murder has sparked renewed calls from anti-crime groups for the reinstatement of the death penalty, arguing it could help deter such violent acts. As for Althea, her assertion that she didn't know JR intended to kill Julie raises doubts. Considering the premeditated nature of the crime and the involvement of multiple people, it's likely that she's minimizing her own participation. As of November 2024, 12 years after Julie's tragic death, the trial is still awaiting a verdict. Despite the setbacks, Julie's family remains hopeful that justice will eventually be served. However, as long as key individuals like Talib and Aldos are still on the run, true justice feels out of reach. What once seemed like a close friendship was ultimately torn apart by jealousy and betrayal. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel for more true crime content. See you next time.